Hi, everyone. We're just waiting for a few more minutes to let people trickle in.
I think we'll wait till about 7:05. People are still trickling in, so we want to make sure everyone who wants to be here is here before we get started. Well, it seems like pretty much everyone who's going to be joining us is in. I mean, I'm sure people might trickle in as we go along, but I don't see anybody else coming in at the moment. Is it okay to start, James?
Yeah, please do. Yeah, why don't we?
Thank you very much. Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us on this first community outreach meeting for Arlington Park. We're very excited to get your input. Joining me today is James Snyder, Director of Parks and Recreation, as well as other key staff and stakeholders. I'm just going to run through some housekeeping items to start. Then we'll make an introduction and discuss the purpose of this meeting, discuss the existing park, go through some previous projects we have completed to show you examples to get the juices flowing for ideas, because we're very much interested in hearing what you would like to see happen at the park. And then we'll have some closing remarks and start the question and answers where you can voice your opinion, give us your input, and ask any questions you might have. For housekeeping items, I just want to, for some of you who might not be familiar with this application, at the bottom left is the mute unmute button. Then it's your camera. You can have it on or off for this meeting, however you please. Once we get to the questions portion, there's a hand button, which is the fourth one in. If you can raise your hand, we'll unmute you or give you the permission to unmute, and then you can speak and voice your opinion, and then we can go back on mute so that someone else can have a turn. Also, we have a chat feature, which is the second one. Some of you have already been using it, which is great. We welcome questions through the chat as well. And then there's also an activities and question and answer tab. And the third one down is a Q&A, where you can then ask a question and type it in as well. I think the chat itself might be easier, but it's another feature available to us. With that, I'd like to have Jim have say a few words, a few remarks before we get started, and then we'll go from there.
Great, thank you, Arsen, and welcome everyone. I'm very excited to see so many people take the time to show up to this meeting and learn more about what could potentially happen over at Arlington Street Park. So I do appreciate that. On behalf of Mayor Sisitsky and Jim Duane and the rest of the team here, Elaine and others from Parks and Recreation, these sessions are great to learn more about the neighborhood and about each neighborhood has certain challenges and certain things that we need to take a look at. And certainly this park is one that we're concentrating on, not just making it a nice park, but making it a safe place. We do have Framingham Police here as well. So we can, I think a lot of us have heard a lot of the concerns, but please feel free to express what challenges there are at the park, and certainly we will try to design features or certainly include other departments and the police to try to help solve some of these issues. Just a quick briefing: we have put up some lights over there temporarily to sort of, as we go into these nights where it's getting dark really early, those should really be helpful. And I think the rest of the plan could include more lighting features that people may want, again, to kind of improve or secure the park. So with that, really, again, please, if you have any questions, please put them in the chat. And if you are not English speaking, we do have several people on the Zoom here that can help with some translation. So I'm sure if you put something in the chat, we could take a look at that and help to provide those answers. So please, with that, Arsen, why don't we go ahead? Thank you.
Thank you very much. One other thing I forgot to mention in the housekeeping items is we are recording this video mainly so that when we get your input, it's hard to write everything down very quickly, so we can go back through it and make sure we captured everything that you have intended to send our way. So the purpose of this meeting is clear, and then at the end we'll answer your questions, and then we'll also detail some of our next steps and how we're going to move forward. Arlington Street Park, currently there's 2 perimeter walkways. There's a cut-through walkway. One more person joining us here. Perimeter walkway, cut-through, and then there's the basketball court. You have a small balance beam, a seesaw, swings, monkey bars. The playground equipment has wood mulch fibers, and there's some green space, a few trees around the perimeter. As Jim mentioned, there's some lights that have recently been placed as well. NESRA, we specialize in park design. We've recently completed a few parks in the city of Waltham. This one was Thompson Park. It was a very small pocket park, however, pretty similar in scope. In this park, we have a basketball court with a futsal combination, a splash feature, which is at the bottom right, the blue circle. The top right side, we have a playground with poured-in-place rubber surfacing that provides cushioning. And then at the bottom middle, we have a gazebo or a shade shelter with seating and tables. To show you what that looks like, the top left here is the combination basketball futsal. Top right is the shade shelter, fairly small but accommodating. It has two benches, 8-foot benches, center rails, 2 picnic tables, ADA accessible, and also a cool feature that we added to it is a checkers chessboard on top. So that can serve to help people get together and enjoy it more and play some games. Bottom left is a splash feature, single splash feature with ground jets and some drains. The middle one next to it is showing that in use. And then bottom right is a play structure with a musical feature, a slide, and a climber. Similar park, same city of Waltham, McDonald Park, slightly larger scope. It had a larger shade shelter. Top right is a larger play structure. This was more of a nature theme. Here we have treehouse and rock climber. The water features had frogs and cattails and rainbows. There's a close-up of what that frog looks like. He was shooting some water out of his mouth, which is kind of neat. Top middle here, we have the basketball futsal combination again. Futsal was pretty high in demand for that city. We also added 2 smaller hoops on the side of the court for younger children. So that was another great way of getting multiple use out of a single court. And to the left of that is a zip line feature on some synthetic turf. Another park we did was for City of Everett. Similar scope and size and magnitude of the space you have available, not necessarily the features we will do, but just the general space you have available. We had play features for the 2 to 5-year-old age group, the 5 to 12, some rubber safety surfacing, splash area, picnic tables, some entryway improvements. The reason I want to show you this one is we had a cool feature here. This is a concrete structure that's also an artistic piece. It was painted and handcrafted by artists to make it look like a tree house, which almost looks like a real tree, but this is actually concrete. It's on the bottom right here with mushrooms as the steps, and it has a slide. There's an ADA transfer component to it, and it's a little bit harder to see on this feature. Then there's a small rock climber to the left of that, which is right here. And this picture is actually from underneath that rock climber. So it has some features underground on the bottom, which are a lot more accessible, and kids like to hide and play around in there and makes them feel comfortable. Top left is another splash feature. And then the top right is just some entryway improvements, signage, walkways, benches. You can see there's some lighting, but a security camera over here, and then just streetscapes, some plantings along the main road. Another cool park is Swan Street Park. It has some larger water feature and with a nautical theme. So there's the captain's helm, there's a ship sail, there's serpents and fish and frogs. And then this park had some existing frogs that we tried to incorporate into the overall park. So it wasn't just clear cut everything and start from scratch. We used features. Sometimes that's a nice way of kind of incorporating existing features of the park into the new park. And then the middle walkway here with lighting, benches. To the left here is a compound structure, not so much a traditional, but more of the ropes and climbing feature. You can see it in the background here. And then a large tower. This play structure here is also pretty modern, and it had it has a barcode, so you can scan the code and it does a story time with your iPad. So the iPad itself will read you the story that's associated with that play structure. Nothing electronic, just the code that goes on it. Here we have some hard court surfaces because you have the basketball court. This is kind of a traditional standalone basketball, and they had some tennis courts. Now they're going back and adding pickleball to the tennis courts. So that's another feature that can be added to existing structure. Some of the stuff we'd love to hear from you about is, one, we want to know some of the things that you saw here, features you have seen in other parks that you're interested in, what your community would like, what you personally would like to see, and then general scope of things. Is there a particular theme that everyone seems to enjoy? Nature, nautical, transportation, farmyard. Do you like the traditional play structures where it's just where it's the climbers and the slides, or do you like all the ropes and different climbers and tunnels? Do you want to see a splash feature, some kind of a water feature on site? Would you be interested in having the courts be multi-purpose? Do people like futsal? Do people like pickleball? I think everyone, basketball seems to be the most prevalent and most popular, but it's great to add some more use to that one space. We always want to keep some green space in every park. It'd be great to have green space for kids to run around in the natural grass. People like to do yoga and picnic, things like that. Side amenities are, we're looking to see, do you want some more benches? Do you want to have like a chess or checkerboard on top? Is there a need for picnic tables? Is the perimeter safe? Is the fencing, are we looking to fence off the play structures separately from the rest of the park? Some moms would like to have that closed off so that you can have the kids in there, not worry about them running out and you have to chase them all the time. So that's another great feature. We already talked about having some more lighting potentially, and we definitely want to have accessible walkways throughout and make this whole park ADA accessible. For our roadmap of where we are and where we're trying to go, so far we have completed the background evaluation, the site analysis. We're on step 2, community outreach and planning. The plan is to get as much information from you as we can. Then we go to the drawing board. We'll come up with multiple alternatives, bring in as much of your design ideas as we can that are feasible. It's great to get all the different ideas, but some things just cannot work based on site constraints and things like that. But we'll, of course, tell you about that at the next presentation. So we'll take that information, we'll come up with some sketches, designs, renderings. We'll present that to you at the next meeting, try to build a consensus, some agreement as to what everyone likes and what there might be parts of one option and parts of another option you like. So then we can take those and try to combine them into one option that works for everyone. Then we'll present that option to the Parks Commission and get their approval or their comments. And from then on, it will go on to funding requests and getting the project off the ground and things like that. With that, James, if you don't mind, let me know if there's anything I said that's out of line or if any corrections. And if you want to put in any closing remarks, we can then go on to questions and answers.
Nothing right now, though, but I did put in the chat, what would you like in your park? So I don't know if someone would like to, translate. I know there's been some. Oh, thank you very much. There it is. So, yeah, please offer up any suggestions either through the chat or by raising a hand. And hopefully, people will also, we want this to be back and forth and we really want to hear your voices. So I think it's time for us maybe to do some, less talking and hear from others in the audience here.
So we do have a question. Maria Ruiz is asking, what's the possibility of having a pool placed in this particular area, given the Hispanic community that knows how to swim?
I think for right now, we're taking all the ideas you have, and then I think at the next meeting we'll come up with what we were able to do, and if we can't do certain things, we'll explain why. If Priscilla has a question, she has her hand raised.
Sorry, everyone. I'm kind of doing this on the go. I just had a quick question. I'm sorry if it was covered before I logged on. I logged on a couple minutes late, about long-term security and maintenance on this. I know that I've been in the neighborhood, and I know that, and I've heard from some of the residents, the concern is safety. So kind of like the best laid plans, how do we make sure it remains safe long-term?
Yeah, I mean, I can speak briefly to that. There will be a maintenance plan that goes along with this. I know it needs to be a combination of departmental efforts between police, ourselves, DPW. So I think there's a number of opportunities where each of us can probably play a part in trying to do that. I've been having some great communication with Jose, who lives in the neighborhood. He's also on the Parks and Recreation Commission and here tonight. So there's another avenue to hear some of these concerns. And, the faster here that something's going on, the sooner we can get out there and try to help out. I know we've done that with a few cleanups. Obviously, there is still some work to be done. But hopefully the design elements that we choose will help to make it a little easier to maintain and a little safer. And then combined with, whatever the police can do to help, either, with coming down more or visiting more. I know with Parks and Recreation and working with other groups, we've been able to, reach out to the community a little bit and have an ear out there and hear more of what's going on. So I think if we continue to kind of open up that line of communication, and I don't know, I saw Jose jump on as well. I don't know if you want to add to some of that.
Hi, good evening. My name is Jose Ferreira. I'm one of the park commissioners. I just want to reemphasize, I went and talked to a lot of my neighbors on a short notice today, and a lot of them are shy. They're not here, but they have a few questions. And of course, some of the questions that we have was, as Priscilla mentioned, was the safety of the park, the lighting, the cameras. We were talking about basketball court earlier, which is now being used for soccer. We also see volleyball going on. So we have to be careful in choosing the sports or the entertainments that we're going to have in this park, because remember, we need to build this park for the neighboring people, the people that actually surround the park itself. And basketball always is going to be primary, but what is being played right there now is soccer in the majority. But one of the questions that actually came from one of the ladies was, what are there for females to play? There's always, hockey, field hockey, soccer, handball. But what about something like volleyball for women? So we have to think about both sides of the ball to be able to please everyone in the neighborhood. So that was some of the questions they asked us to mention to you guys today.
Thank you.
There's one question in the chat that asks about commenting and whether we'll be visiting the site. It might be great to have kind of an informal poll about maybe the next meeting should be on site, where we'll have boards of the schematic designs and we can meet people who actually come to the site. What do you all think about that? Is that a better way than doing the Zoom next time, meeting like this?
I think so. Also, would it be good is to be able to have some of the parks that you mentioned tonight, for us to have information on it, so we can I would like to go visit some of the parks that you mentioned, because one thing is seeing it in camera and one to be able to see it, because we know we don't have that much space to work with. So I know a lot of my neighbors already asking, should we go visit some of these parks to have an idea of what we would like to have in ours.
So we're going to post, this meeting is being recorded. So all this information, the presentation, subsequent meetings and designs will all be on our website. We have an email up there, and you can just visit the Framingham Parks and Recreation website, Arlington Street Park, and we'll have a dedicated page with a lot of that information. So yeah, or so you can grab it right there and know where all those parks are to go visit if you want.
Yeah, we'll add the address to it, onto the presentation for each park.
Arson,
Yes.
if I may, I just wanted to reiterate what Jim just said, but I wanted to follow up. We do not yet have a dedicated page on our website for the Arlington Street Park. This is our first kickoff meeting. So subsequent to this meeting, one of the things that we're going to do is figure out what the appropriate information is to get up there that will help the people that were on this meeting, so that we can make sure we put the right information up there. So I will make sure that I work with Arson and NESRA Design to get some address information associated with the graphics that we saw, so that when we do post the information on the site, people will be able to see the address and be able to figure out how they want to go visit those parks. But that information is not yet up on our website, so give us a couple of days to get that set up following the meeting.
Very good. Hip, can you check the queue? There's a lot of hands raised, and we can go in order.
Yep, I think Ashley Daniel Ramos is next. Ashley, are you able to unmute yourself?
Yes. So I wanted to just comment a little bit about the splash pad. I know another thing I had on the list here was about safety, but that was kind of talked about. So the splash, including some type of splash pad at the Arlington Street Playground, because I know there's a lot of families there. And I know you mentioned something about a theme, and I don't know exactly one, and I think this will be like more, this should be more like asked with the community there to see what type of like theme they would like to see there. And then in terms of like the fencing, if there's any way to like include a fencing for the splash pad area, as well as for the park as well. Just, a fencing with that's able to like open and close. And yeah, some type of, if there's any way, I know the park isn't too big, but if there's any way to like include any changing room there, or a bathroom, and some benches with some shade, I feel like that, could be great. Yeah.
That's awesome. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Arson, could you scroll back to the page that has the list of amenities or examples on it? That might help people think of what it is that they wanted to talk about.
Sure. Who's next, Tip?
We have Ms. Rosario.
Hi, everyone. So I wanted to come on and remind everyone that as we're creating the new, we also have to look at what's been happening in this environment. I would say for the last 5 years or so, I can speak on. It's easy for us to always focus on the negative, but we also have to look at some of the positives that have been happening in this space. And I can directly think back to this summer. This is a Summer Eats site, and we host Summer Eats and enrichment activities in this environment. And through the month of July, actually the last week of June, through July, August, and the last week of September, and the first week of September, we house about 50 kids average daily, 50 to 60 kids a day, safely, and engage and provide meals and activities and enrichment activities every single day through the summer. And within doing that, we've learned a lot. We engage with a lot of residents, when they engage with a lot of families, and we understand from them that a lot of these things are, yes, these are things. These are objects that are going to be created in this environment. that is needed. But what also needs to be understood is that this is a very thriving and engaging community. These are very willing, able, happy families, and that these people deserve the best, and that they are kind, they are able, and they're just like everyone else. So when we're thinking about what we're bringing in this environment, I really, really want to highlight that we need to be in this space, talking to these residents and hearing directly from them what they would like to see in their space. Because I don't think one person should be the highlight of the voices of the people in this space. So I know that this is an avenue to get information. And I know that these are things that are being created to get feedback. And I know that there's people in places to be able to bring this information back. But in an equitable manner, I claim to you to please come into this environment, come to the park, talk to the families that are already engaging in this space and understand from them what is it that they want to see in this space, because this is a used space. This is not something that is not being done, and like these kids aren't there. You can pass by. Jose posts all the time of kids playing with no shoes on the basketball field. I mean, on the basketball court playing soccer, right? We see all his posts. Jose, we see you. We see what you're doing out here. But what you got to post is what's really happening in this environment. So if you want to do this and we want to do it the right way, you got to come out here and we got to talk to these people. So that's what I came to say.
Yeah, thank you. We're happy to do that. We were torn between the convenience of having people jump on this, or especially when they have to work during the day and it gets getting dark so early. But we're definitely planning on having, another one of the meetings outside. So, and it's going to be on the website, plenty of time and opportunity. But yeah, we're not going anywhere. We're happy to.
Awesome. Thank you.
Sure.
Great. Thank you very much. We do have, I believe Leslie was up at one point. I don't know, Leslie, if your question's been answered. Okay, and then there's also Christopher.
Leslie's here. I'm still here.
Oh, sorry.
Hi.
Hi, Leslie.
Hi, I'm Leslie White-Harvey, and I live in the neighborhood. And I'm a vice chair of the library trustee. And I'd like to share with you, kind of piggyback on what we just heard about the park being used. I pass there almost every day, and I see a lot of things happening. Being a library trustee, I've stopped by when the bookmobile's there, and working with the students from Discovery Hidden Gems. Something I'd really like to see happen is we spoke about trying to have like some kind of reading section there. Of course, come out to speak to the community, but some sort of, I don't know if it's a stage, it's a temporary stage where you can do book reading, some theater, obviously some writing of that yoga thing that came up. A big fan of yoga. I'd love to see some kind of enrichment ideas of that sort, where the kids can do some theater work there. Hold on. I remember helping build a playground with hoops, and also, and one of the things they did, which everybody's speaking to, allow the kids to kind of design in terms of, at least speaking, color schemes. They had like one community day, and the kids were there, and they were able to tell us what colors they wanted. I think that'd be great. I'd like to bring it to the park so that the families can choose, colors and that they could be like, and it needs to reflect what the neighborhood needs and wants. And I hope you take that in consideration. I want to thank you for giving me an opportunity to speak, and also hosting this forum. I'm looking forward to have many more discussions. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much. If I see Jose's hand up, and I don't know if there's anyone else ahead of him.
I believe
Welcome.
Christopher, I believe Emily. Christopher's next, and then Emily after.
So hi everyone, I'm Chris. I'm the community health manager for the health department of Framingham. And I was lucky enough to go to some of Margie's programming over the summer. I've been over at the park, I think once a week for the last like 13, 14 weeks or something, and just a lot of great things going on. But I think one point I just wanted to raise, and I know it's probably isn't the time for it because it is just an introductory meeting, but we mentioned a little bit of stuff about like safety features for the park. And I think that gets kind of tricky. I don't think a lot of the stuff here is really solved by like more cameras or like more fences and more whatever, because a lot of it's kind of a complicated community dynamic of you have young kids and you've got families and things, and then you also have people who are unhoused or, you know, they're suffering from, you know, mental illness or addiction or other things. And really I think the dichotomy is that the people who are unhoused or need treatment or whatever it is, just don't have a good, safe place to do any of those things. So kind of, we've talked about ways to get the police more involved, but frankly, at least from a health side and from a community side, there's probably 2 or 3 other services or agencies that they probably need way before the police get involved. And I'm sure the police don't necessarily want to be involved in this either. So I think it's just like a big part of the safety is kind of doing some more community building beyond that and making sure that whoever is kind of working on the park, they do all the technical parts, like we're talking about equipment and things, but then also with the safety part, I think it's much more of partnering with the groups who can help these people and making it so this space is more for playing and families and kids, and the people who need services can go to the appropriate avenues to get it and don't need to go to a park and don't need to be, you know, harassed by others or, you know, whatever it is. So, and I know, again, that's too big, but thanks everyone.
Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you. So we had Emily who asked a question about the, you know, the list presented. Did we provide some parks with bathrooms? And I did mention that typically we have done those before, but they're part of a, you know, usually a larger facility. But, you know, we can, you know, if that's something that you want to see, maybe not necessarily part of the scope of this project, but that's something that we can still explore as we take all your comments offline and try to work on that design and those features. So next we have Jose, who also had a question.
Oh, thank you. I also just wanted to mention the importance of shade. I just wanted to make sure that, you know, no matter how beautiful a playground is, if everything you touch is hot as lava, it doesn't matter. So I just want to make sure that there is shading to avoid burning in the sun for the kids touching the playground, and also for parents that are sitting with their children, that, you know, they have the safety of shade.
Thank you. Yep.
Excellent. Noted. Thank you. I believe Jose was next.
I just want to go back real quick on what Margie was talking about. Margie, you know, towards the end of the summer, when I actually learned about your program, I started posting this because I saw the kids there. You do an amazing job, you and your crew over there, and we are so thankful. The situation, whether that towards the end of the summer when I started doing these videos, was just to show the city what was going on in our side of the town, so people can actually notice this, the police, the mayor, and everybody gets involved. Because the reason why I started doing this time around is because around the corner is getting out of hand. And I see the kids there. I see the work you guys are doing. And I don't think it was fair to see kids without shoes running so close to needles, or your kids seeing what was going on in the other side of the fence. And this is the reason I started posting this, and why the reason I got involved with parking recreation. And this is just the beginning. So one thing I want to mention that I forgot to mention earlier was what the lady just mentioned. The shade is one of the most important. We had a meeting there from parking recreation just about a month ago, and everyone was under the only 2 trees we got in there. So everybody was just in there. So we have to start working on the shade. And that's all I have to say for now. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jose. So your comment just affirmed Chris's comment. So those pieces need to be implemented before these structures are installed. So those are the pieces that Chris was just mentioning. So thank you for affirming that.
Hello.
It looks like we have somebody on a phone that might not be seeing the chat. And then I know, Harry, you have your hand up. We'll come right to you. Is there someone on a phone?
Hi, yeah, I'm here. My name's Kelsey. I do a lot of harm reduction work. I work at Program Rise, and I know that discarded needles in the park is a big concern. I just want to let people know that if you find used syringes, you can call Program Rise, and our harm reduction team will come out and pick up those needles. Because I see a lot of people posting them on Facebook. So just throwing it out there that's something that we can do, because I know a lot of people are concerned about that. And I think that it's really great that we want to improve the park, but like people have mentioned before, there's a lot of unhoused people that hang out there and people who use drugs. And I think that we need to address other issues before we think about putting a splash pad, because if people are already upset about unhoused people hanging out at the park, it's possible that if we put a splash pad, that people who don't have access to a shower, to a toilet, might use the splash pad to clean themselves. So I just think that those are things that we need to think about. And maybe before we put a splash pad or add things to this park, we think about ways that we can help people in our community who are the most vulnerable.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you for holding this meeting.
Harry?
Good evening, Lieutenant Wareham. I just wanted to go back to what Christopher said and the last caller said in dealing with some of the safety and some of the unhoused people and things around the park. The police department is very involved with SMOC and advocates. We have clinicians who are assigned with us. We also have Officer Cosme, who goes out once or twice a month with SMOC and tries to connect these people with services. So we are dealing with it. As far as the specific safety needs, I look forward to meeting with the community members and hearing what they would like to see from their police department and how we can address some of their safety needs.
Thank you. So I see a lot of agreement to a lot of what is being said, and I think some of this is, so we're going down two different avenues, and we do understand that there's a safety and a concern around what's the situation people are dealing with and being on site, and then we're also discussing the features and things like that. So we'll work with the Parks Department. On my end, I could, we only deal with the design of the play structures, but certainly whatever aspects we can incorporate to help with that in the playground, we will do that as well.
Yeah, it is nice to see so many health professionals in the room here, and certainly it sounds like you've been there a lot and you know a lot of the situations. Yeah, I mean, regular sweeps for needles, regular conversations with how to help, people without houses. So I think it is a combination effort. I know there's some real issues in this park and other parks. We manage parks all over the city. It is in a very tight neighborhood. And so I think a lot of that negative energy is really in a small space where you're trying to get a mix of people trying to enjoy themselves and enjoy the facility with people just trying to survive. So, we certainly understand that there is some concerns out there. Like Arson said, we can certainly help on the Parks and Recreation side with the design piece and kind of really build something that's there. But these other pieces and will have to come into play as well. So I'm so in this, if we can continue to have these conversations and figure out ways how to get people the help that they need down there. So.
In the chat, we have Anna, I believe, asking about the timeline. Do you guys want to address that?
Sure. So right now we have the design money to begin the process, which is what we're engaged in here. So, from that, I think we showed I don't know if you want to go to the diagram that had that. Yeah, there you go. So we're going to go through this process, which will happen over the next, couple of months. And then we will, present a final design, which will be presented as part of the capital improvement program. It will be presented to the mayor, Parks and Recreation Commission, and ultimately up to the city council for approval. Once we did also put in a CPA application as well to seek alternative funding, in addition to capital funding that we would get from the city. So we are looking at a couple of different funding sources. So, the first step is to get a design that everyone is in agreement with, or mostly in agreement with. And then with that design, we can go ahead and present our case for the final funding. That funding would come potentially July 1st. So once that funding is secured, we would go ahead and put it out to bid, find out what the actual true construction cost is, and then enter into a contract and go from there, hopefully. So, the idea would be to design it this year and build it after July 1st.
Thank you.
What's the best way to collect people's emails? Should they put it in the chat, and can we collect them from there? Just so we have, looks like people will be, looking to get additional invitations and things.
We could do that if you're comfortable putting your email in the chat, or yeah, I think that's the best way. And then we can go through the recording and jot them all down and put you on our email list. I see Harry's hand up.
Sorry, I think that was from last time.
Oh, okay.
It would be Jose, I think, is
Yes. Yes, what I was going to ask is there any way we can start planting trees this year? Because the shade is one of the biggest problem we have there. I mean, I imagine that, winter is upon us, but what happens if we just start planting those big trees this year so we can get a head start into this? Would that be a problem against the construction of the park?
So yeah, I mean, you would not be able to buy trees mature enough to put in there that would actually provide the shade that I think the kind of shade that you're looking for. Unfortunately, one solution, kind of created another problem in that we needed to take down trees so lights could get to the areas that everyone said, certain people said that needed to be lighted. Yeah, we can look to see what some shade might be. I'm not sure if trees necessarily are the solution, because I don't think it'll get the desired effect. But certainly I've got shade, here. We can brainstorm and try to come up with some ideas to get us through the summer or some of the hotter weather. But yeah, we'll just have to, probably have a separate conversation of shade there and see what we can do.
One more question I have is, during this construction, I imagine the park is going to be shut down for the kids that were there this year?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So
for a certain time, that will be closed. At the same time, we are working on Mary Dennison Park. And for those of you familiar on Beaver Street, that's also been approved to get renovated. And it's been a long time coming, but we have actually reached the point where we're making some progress. We have some clear direction from DEP on what we need to do to move that project forward. So unfortunately, those might be about at the same time. But we'll have a more clear idea of construction schedules once the funding's in place and we hire put it out to bid, hire a company and see what their schedule is like.
Leslie?
Hi again. I just want to thank Parks and Recs for actually doing the posting in multiple languages for the community to know that there was going to be a meeting, and just keep us abreast as to when the next meetings are. And I would highly recommend, before it gets too cold, to try to have a meeting with the residents at the park and try to get some ideas to brainstorm. As I said, Margie is a fantastic partner to work with Discovery Gems. The library bookmobile comes to support that on Tuesdays. So if we could get something going before it gets too cold, so we have something to kind of look forward to in spring. And just continuing the multiple languages on the fence. That was a great idea. I think somebody on the call suggested that, and thank you for that.
Thank you. Ms. Rosario?
Yeah, I know you said it's coming in terms of, but like in time frame, like if you were to give me like a subjected time area, 6 months, year, 2 years, summer, spring, winter, 23, 24, like what does this look like? Because I have to bring this information back, and I like to be very transparent into the information that's given here. So I don't like to be, hypothetically speaking, we might eventually get, before we die, a park. Like, how do we like go about this conversation?
Yep. I would love to give you an exact day that we would break ground, but I'll be truthful, and I'm not trying to dodge the question. There's so many variables that come into play between now and construction, including getting funding to build the park. That is a piece of it. So, in the perfect world, if everything was going according to plan, we would look to build it probably in fiscal year 24. So that's somewhere between, July of 23 and June of 24. Ideally, perfect world. But if we don't get funded, then that does not happen. Or when the construction happens, the construction company, by the time we put it out to bid, may not be able to do our project first. We may be 2 or 3 on their list, which would push it back a little bit. So there's a few variables, and unfortunately we do kind of have to take it step by step. And this is the first real big step. So, as we move closer, and move through the process, it will become more clear, when things are happening. So I know sounds a little bit of elusive, but that's as transparent today, right now in this moment. So
No, I just bring that up because, as you know, we've been in these, we did this for Mary Dennison, right? And we started 2016, 2017. Then we had to speak to residents. Then we had to get the youth to come up, and then everybody advocating, what do you want to see in this park? We're in 2022. The park is still held up. A lot of these populations lose interest or don't feel like they're heard. So, and this is an underserved community. So our kids don't have years, right? So the kids that you were talking to in 2017, 2018, they're not here anymore. They already graduated, they moved on, and like they don't have that luxury of saying of time. So, I'm grateful that these plans are being made, and don't get me wrong, and I'm grateful for all the efforts that are being conducted. But if the efforts are going to be intentional, I feel like we should really be thinking about how to change the environment behavior, and focus on those things, because those are what the kids are dealing with every single day, and come up with these features as we go along. So I just wanted to highlight that. Thank you.
Thank you.
If there's a message in Spanish, if you don't mind translating for us.
Sure. Ms. Reese is saying that she's a resident of Arlington, and she's very happy for the movement of this and benefiting the area. She said she understands that there's a few inconveniences and things that'll present themselves, but but we have we have sort of the drive to get past them and to move forward. So it's a very nice comment.
Thank you.
And I'll respond in Spanish in a second.
Okay. Leslie, I see your hand up. Is that from before, or do you have another comment? Leslie?
That was from before. Sorry about that.
Okay, no problem. There's another question. Is there an intentional plan in place to make sure residents are involved through the process, since it might take a bit? I think we're having these series of community meetings. We'll have another one on site, and then we'll have a presentation. So certainly we're looking to get as much input as we can. This is how we get the best ideas and are able to make the best parks, is when everyone gets to have a say and have input. Anyone that's really willing to. We don't always get all the people in the community to come out, but we certainly try and want to hear their voices and their opinions, for sure. Is there anything else you'd like to add, James, to that?
Yeah, I mean, I would just say, again, we're going to put that information out there for everyone, to take a look at. I always strongly encourage people to get involved and stay involved. This is one step of the process. I don't approve the funding. I only present it. So when the time comes, for the city to take a look at the plan, and for city council to ultimately vote on the plan, certainly the more people in the community that express the need, and I think that will help to move the process along and help to fund things and move it forward. I think there is certainly buy-in by Mayor Sisitsky and the city council. They've approved the planning design portion of the what we're doing here. So certainly there is support there to fully fund it once it goes. But, it does come down to the city's financial situation and votes of the city council and others. So, so I would say just keep involved. We'll do our best to let you know, when certain critical meetings are. Where these things are happening. We don't always know, but when the discussion is going to come up any given night. But to the best of our ability, we'll try to make people aware so that they can also have a voice, not only in this platform, but also on a larger citywide platform, again, where they can be heard.
Thank you. Based on my past experience, it's very helpful to have the community members come to the actual meetings where things are voted on and voice your opinion. I think it goes a long way to show that A, you want this, you're interested in this, and B, that you want to make sure that your voice is heard and you get a good result that way. Christopher?
Yeah, just really quickly to Anna's point in the comment and a few others about getting the community involved. I think it's great. We want to keep having these meetings, and we want to, make sure some of these meetings happen at the park. But I know there's also a lot of people who work full time and are crazy busy, and their schedules may not align with ours or the city's or whoever's it is. So I think finding other ways to capture some of that resident voice would be great too. I've done a few very brief translated surveys that can be almost just a little pamphlet where we say check off, the top 3 things you want to see in the park. And we have it in Spanish and Portuguese and whatever, just so that they can hand it to, someone at the bookmobile or me or whoever's at the park or just in the area. So we collect more voices in different ways just so that we hear from more people.
Thanks, Chris. The Parks Department already asked us for that as well. They're aware of it and intend to do that, and we support them with that. So we'll get that out to the residents for sure.
Great.
We have Jose, I believe, who may have another comment. Oh, Jose, you're muted, I think.
Thank you. So I just want to mention that at the moment, we are trying to get a neighborhood meeting together for safety. One of the ladies that have been asking the question, Maria, and I have been trying to get a meeting with the mayor and the police captain. And it has taken a little bit longer than we expected because their schedule is so hectic. But we are starting to get flyers and finding a date so we can meet at the park. But I just wanted to mention it in this meeting because one of the questions that is going to come out in this meeting is the safety of that park. And I just wanted to let everyone know to keep your eye open for that meeting because we are going to need help. We cannot literally let this the city work this on by themselves. It has to be an effort between the people in the neighborhood and also the city, the government, to be able to get this done, the safety of the park in the neighborhood. So we will be going to be posting something, and at the same time, we're going to be able to talk about what's going on with the park. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Here's the email again. If there's anyone that you know that you wasn't able to come or you come up with a question later on or think of something, please email the parks.recreation@framinghamma.gov. There's a telephone number. Feel free to call if you think of something or if someone you know couldn't be here and really wanted to, have a comment. That's just another way to pass the word along to them and have them contact us. I think we hit on a lot of good stuff. I think we got a lot of good information. I think, the next one I'd like to hear a little bit more about just because I specialize in the parks piece, I'd like to hear more about what, the features and things. I understand all the other concerns, which are valid and important. We'll go to the drawing board. We'll put some stuff together. We'll have another meeting and go from there. Unless there's, we want to make sure everyone's had a turn. So if there's anything else, please let us know. Okay. Jim, are you guys comfortable? We all have some homework to do and.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just want to ensure that, your voices have been heard by Parks and Recreation, other city officials, people in the health field. So, if hopefully designing the park can be something that people rally around and maybe take pride in, and this can be the kind of the signature thing that maybe turns things around a little bit. And I would love to hear more from the health professionals here, how to work more with the unhoused population, because like I said, we're dealing with this in a lot of our parks, and it shifts. It goes from one to another sometimes. So I'd love to work with you to figure out how we help tackle these health issues and safety issues. So I do want to thank everyone. I think we heard a lot of great ideas. And please stay tuned. We have a lot of emails. If you didn't feel comfortable putting an email online or here in the chat, please email us directly, and we'll certainly get that list going and make sure that people are updated as we go through the process. So with that, I just want to say thank you for participating tonight, and you'll hear more from us soon.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you.
I'm going to stay on and take some photos of all the comments. I know it's all recorded as well, but just double make sure I have them.
How do you log out?
Should just be an X button on the right, or you might have to hit escape first to minimize. Okay.
All right.
Yes, okay. Cool. Or there's the end phone call button on the bottom right.
That red button that's lit up, the only lit up
that
red
one.
button at the bottom.
Yeah.
Arson, thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah.
Appreciate it. Tell Hip thank you for me.
Sure. Yeah, let's touch base sometime tomorrow if you're free, just to kind of regroup.
Sounds like a plan.
All right. Thank you. Bye now.
Thanks,
Okay.
guys.